I just got off the road and I couldn't be bothered to do my hair. So, it ain't called Unbothered for nothing.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody? Thai Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. And welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Thai Rivera. I forgot what I was doing for a second there. No edits though, so it is what it is, but I forgot what I was doing for a second, literally. I'm so tired in a way, but at the same time, do not worry about me because things are going to get a lot easier around here in the next couple of days. And technically, they're a lot easier as of right now. I will tell you guys that we have lost one of our little soldiers here, DJ Lyndy. We love DJ Lyndy, but DJ Lyndy had to go. And so it's just me and Snoopy Bijou. Once again, just us two swinging together, huh, Bijou? But yeah, it wasn't as dramatic as you might think. And for anybody that thinks I'm a hateful person and I just like unloaded my dog or whatever you're thinking, not that kind of case. What happened is Lindy is a baby, which I have always been very clear about. And Lindy does have an option to come back in 6 months. But Lindy became a little bit too big of a producer because I don't know if you guys know this, but Lindy moonlights. And so he does other things that aren't. Let me make sure my sound's running here. Yeah, we're going. He does other things that aren't unbothered by Thai Rivera. And I didn't have a problem with him doing other projects because he's freelance, you know, he can do whatever he wants. But what I did have a problem with is that he wanted more money from me, and that's already annoying because he is part owner of Unbothered by Thai Rivera. That was part of the deal, and how I brought him on was he would have a stake in the show. And he knew he was getting cheated in a way, but he was newer to producing at that time. So I went ahead and gave him that sweetheart deal. And then he started getting paid more other places. And then he came back to me like, hey, we got to work this back out. And I was like, not until your contract's up. And technically, the contract said into perpetuity, which I know is playing dirty pool because he's a puppy and he doesn't really know what perpetuity means. But for those of you that also don't know, it means forever. So there was going to be no renegotiation. And Lindy was putting a lot of pressure on me. Bijou has never put that kind of pressure on me. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm kind of Bijou's sugar daddy. So she will always get whatever she wants from me anyway. Where Lindy felt more like he had to be a penny pincher. And I don't know why, because eventually he would ended up on the same deal Bijou is or something very similar. But he wanted to jump the gun and right away start talking about what he was worth. And I was like, hey, I kind of made you. And the other difference on the personal level is that Bijou is a very much like give me my money, because I don't know if you guys know this about dogs, and I'm going to be very serious for a second, but dogs are a lot like people. And when they talk about the love languages, different dogs have different languages they speak. And with Bijou, it's money. That's what Bijou's thing is. It's gifts and whatever the thing is. I don't remember the 5 love languages. I read it before, or I listened to it on YouTube. I didn't read it. I was on a road trip and I just listened to the whole thing on YouTube. But when it comes to Lindy, his love language really is like affection and me spending time with him, which I don't mind spending time with him normally. But since Bijou has been going through this, and I know a lot of you do care about Bijou, so I'm not just going to be silly all the way through. I will tell you honestly that Bijou, we're in the kind of situation right now where Bijou really needs 100% of my attention. And I'm sorry if that upsets anybody. I'm sorry if anybody has feelings about that. but Bijou really does need 100% of my attention. And Lyndon was a little puppy. And so he started acting out. And I had mentioned it kind of on, I think it was the last episode, except for at that time, I was better able to deal with it for a short while. But what happened was we had an accident that caused a setback for Bijou. And yes, it was my fault that this accident happened, but it was because I thought that I had trained Lindy to leave Bijou alone. And it wasn't even a situation where I wasn't there. I was right there. And what had happened that I hadn't been paying attention enough to was that Lindy's version of acting out was that he was peeing on Bijou's stuff. Like if I would leave her, like the sheet that I used before I started using a towel, which now I ordered this thing off Amazon. But if I would leave, which if anybody's wondering why I didn't order this stuff sooner, it really is because I have a hard time getting packages delivered here to my place. I don't know why there's such an issue with getting things, especially to my particular building. And I tried it in the past and they end up leaving it by the front, which there's a lot of homeless people that walk around out here that have stolen packages. I've literally had that done before. And so the way that things work out is I can't always get packages here. So I figured out a situation. Hold on. Wait up, puppy. Let me help you. Don't hurt yourself, please. Don't hurt yourself. I know what you want, and I'll get it. You better stay there. Sorry, I will end up editing that part out only because Bijou was struggling to get some water, and the last thing I need is her really straining herself because we're touch and go over here. So what I was saying that happened with DJ Lyndy was we were in the car because I had no choice but to go to Phoenix. I had to work this weekend. And so I had no choice but to be there. And I don't trust anybody else to take care of Bijou. I just don't. I have to take care of Bijou. And I have been telling Lindy, because I always keep her in her cage when we're here at home. And I just have her here in her little confined area. And it's chill, right? But I was ordering food. I was in the car and I turned my head, and keep in mind that Bijou has good days and bad days. Like even before this incident happened, Bijou has good days and bad days. And so what happened was I was ordering food from this Carl's Jr. at something like 5 in the morning on my way from, because I took Bijou and Lindy. And so we were all in the car together. And I have been driving for like 5 or 6 hours at that point. I was hungry. I had just taken Bijou to go potty. Bijou was having a bad day that day as far as her mobility. Some days are better than others. That's the way that it works right now. And Lindy, while I had my head turned to the side, decided to jump from the back seat to the front seat, which Bijou was sitting in the back seat. And since I had my head turned, all I heard was Bijou make this scream. And I looked down and Lindy had jumped right on top of Bijou's back. So, I will admit I got very angry. I will also admit that I'm proud of the way that I handled it, because the last thing I needed was to excite Lindy and have him like start running in place on her or scrambling trying to get away. And so what I did was I just went ahead and grabbed him as quickly as I could and I just put him in the back. But in my head, because I was so angry, which I know I shouldn't be angry because he's a dog. He's a small dog. He's a puppy, you could say, but at the same time, I remember by that time with him, because, I paid so much attention to him, even though I've had to take care of Bijou. But his little doggy brain isn't getting that. Like to him, I'm just not giving him enough attention. And I've told you guys before that I only have so much attention to give to absolutely anything. And that's part of why me and Bijou are so great, is because Bijou is the same way. She very much is her own thing, and she doesn't need or want my attention all the time. Like, even now that she's confined like this, earlier today I was laughing really hard because I got down in her, because it's a doggy playpen, so I can open it up. So I opened it up and I got like where I put the upper half of my body inside with her and got face to face with her so I could like give her kisses and give her attention. And the way she was looking at me was like, why are you in my space right now? And then I asked her for kisses and she would not give me kisses, which, if you're familiar with Bijou from my Instagram stories, you know it's regular for her to deny me kisses. But you would think that in this weakened state, she wouldn't want, or she would really want me around all the time. She still can take me or leave me. She very much is about the treats. She needs the money, she needs the cheese, she needs the cheddar. And I do mean specifically cheddar is one of her favorites, but really American ghetto. I don't know why she loves American cheese like she does, but she does. I don't give her too much because it's basically just wax. But when that happened, I thought about just leaving Linden in Fort Stockton was where we were. Fort Stockton, Texas, I think that still is. And I really did think about just like, I should just leave this dog here. And maybe you could say that I should have had one of them in a carrier, but right now, because of the way that Bijou's little legs are, I've told you guys before, one of her legs is kind of just there, and but it's getting stronger. Even now it's getting stronger, and then the other leg sometimes just sticks straight out. Sometimes it'll be very mobile, the other leg, as far as her being able to use it to try to spin herself around or whatever, which I gotta not allow. But then there's also the part that she's gonna be a dog to a certain degree, like I can only confine her so much when it comes to keeping her immobile. Like right now she wanted water, so she's trying to spin herself around a little bit, and the doctor said that that is fine, you just don't want her to start trying to stand on her hind legs right now. But even that, I don't like to see her straining too much, so I right away jump up and help her figure out what she needs to figure out. Also, right now, because of this situation, she isn't able to get to her water the way that she wants to, and so that's going to add even more strain. And so I have to take care of a lot of these things with her, and I'm going to start putting her in her other carrier. So my point was, when that happened, I admit I was getting ready to go on the road, and I had been spending, because I had Bijou in her playpen, and I've really been giving Lindy a lot of freedom and time to be with me, and I had been walking him off the leash and letting him really start to feel comfortable, or what I considered comfortable and secure with me. I was letting him be with me as much as I possibly could, and then he pulls that. And like I said, I know he's a dog, and I know it's a little doggy brain, and I know that they're not complex enough to be that evil, even though Bijou has pulled some stuff that made me question what kind of person she is. But again, I put up with Bijou because she's my baby. And Lindy is very cool. I do love him. But at the same time, my commitment is to Bijou. And so I have a good friend that was here the week that I got Lindy, literally here the week that I got Lindy. And she really loved Lindy from the beginning and kept telling me that she really did like him, and basically telling me that she wanted him, which, you know, I saw it as a win-win for both of us because she's in California, and I told her, because for Bijou to heal 100%, if that's what God has planned, is for her to heal 100%, or as close to 100% as she can get, that is going to be a minimum of 6 to 9 months. So I hit up my friend Dee, and I was just like, hey, this is the situation. I have to put Lindy somewhere for at least 6 to 9 months. That's how long it's going to take Bijou to heal. I told her the situation about the incident that happened, and I was like, the truth is, Lindy just needs to be able to be a puppy. That's what needs to happen with Lindy, is he needs to be able to run and play, and you have your small dog that, because she loves Lindy so much because her dog Ellie, we call her Eleanor, but her name's Ellie. Elle Wolfs is her name, but she is 6 years old, where Bijou is 11. So even when Bijou is 100%, she doesn't want Lindy around her all the time. But when it comes to Ellie, Ellie is a lot more fun like that, and she's like a long-haired version of Lindy. And so Dee did say that she, would definitely take Lindy, and she was nice enough to say or to ask me how it was traveling with Bijou, because originally we were going to meet halfway because she's just north of LA, not too far north of LA, but just north of LA. And she was like, yeah, I remember, because she had this dog, Lucy, that was her little buddy forever. And Lucy ended up passing, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. But Lucy was, at the end in a state where she wasn't able to travel very much. And so Dee, being sympathetic to that, was like, because originally we were going to meet halfway, which I thought was more than fair. But then Dee was like, well, if we meet halfway, then you're probably going to have to bring Bijou with you. And I was like, yeah, more than likely. And she was like, yeah, I don't think that that's what's best for Bijou. So I will just send me the address that you're going to be at in Arizona, because, that's where I was working, was in Phoenix, Glendale. And I'll see, excuse me, I'll GPS it and see how long it would take to get there. And she was like, I have to be in this particular city tomorrow anyway, that's further south. So it might be easier for me to just drop down and go get Lyndon. And so sure enough, she decided after all that she would be able to come all the way to where I was in Glendale, Arizona, and pick up DJ Lyndy. Honk, honk, honk. And me and Lindy had a couple of nights there before he left, when he was in Glendale, where we slept together. And before she got there, because she got there on Sunday, before she got there, we took a nap together during the day, and I gave him a proper goodbye. And I told her that, it's like going to be a minimum of 6 to 9 months. But I know how dogs work, and I know how bonding works. And I also like the idea, because I don't know what's going to happen with Bijou. I'm only thinking positive thoughts right now. And I know some of you might judge me in the comments about the fact that I let that happen on my watch, but I just thought Lyndon knew, because she's been closed off in her area, and I thought he especially knew to like stay away from her. And that was my lapse in judgment, and I'm always going to judge myself for that. So you guys can do what you want in the comments, but I can tell you that you, no matter what you say, will not be able to beat me up worse than I beat myself up about this decision. There's a lot when it comes to Bijou that I kind of put out of my head, because I feel in certain ways like a bad parent, but at the same time, and I think this is where being a dog parent sometimes is like being a human parent, because I always acknowledge that they're completely different. I'm not ever that person that's being like, having my dog is just like having a human baby. No, I realize that there is a difference, but I would say that one thing that I would probably imagine is similar is that you will always regret the things that you think you did wrong, or the places that you fell short. And nobody will ever be able to make you feel worse about that than you'll make yourself feel. So, I mean, like, judge me if you want to, but just know that I'm way more harsh than you are because I know the first hand of it all. And so what I was saying is that I know how that situation is going to work out because once Lindy fully bonds with Dee and her husband, and they not only does she have her dog, but she also has, I believe, two cats, and one of them, his name's Willie, and Willie and Lyndon are already bonding, and that's because Willie is bigger than Lyndon, but I know they're going to make good playmates. Bijou had a cat friend named Rhythm when she was a little baby, and her and Rhythm would wrestle like like a couple little tigers was the way that they would wrestle, really. And I loved watching it because at first Rhythm scared me because at one point when Bijou was little, Rhythm took a swipe at Bijou's face, which, you know, cats with the claws, and Rhythm is this really sinewy, I think is the way you describe it, you know, thin and just very agile cat. I don't remember the breed, but it's a particular breed that is really, really just quick and sleek. And at one point, one of our friends' cat had put Bijou like close to Rhythm's face, and it was when Bijou first came around, and she was still little at the time. And right as the cat went to swipe at Bijou, I grabbed my friend Cat's hand and pushed his hand back, which had Bijou in it, and he recoiled too and got like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know that Rhythm," and so it was. I accepted his apology because Bijou did not actually get scratched, but over time, and it didn't take long at all, Rhythm and Bijou became really good friends. And so I really thought it was cute the way that, and I still think it's cute the way that cats do that, which if you've seen cats around dogs, like you see it on the internet a lot, those cats all have their claws. Nobody gets their cats declawed anymore. That's inhumane, and it's an old school practice that I don't think you can even find a vet to do anymore. So everybody's cats have claws now, but you always see cats on the internet bopping dogs on the head or slapping dogs around. They choose to, you know, pull in their claws, retract their claws, and that's how they slap and that's how they play. And so Rhythm used to grab Bijou by the head and use no claws, just use her little paws and grab her by the head, and they'd be wrestling on the floor. And I have pictures and video of it in my files somewhere, but you know, so I know that Lyndon is really going to love living there, and he's going to be able to be a full puppy. And Bijou needs all of my attention in order for us to get her as close to 100% as she's going to get. And as long as Bijou keeps working at getting better to the most of her ability, whatever that turns out to be, I'm going to take care of her. As long as she tells me that she wants to continue to live, which everything about her, even her right now scooting, trying to get to her water, she's not trying to get to her water because she wants to drown herself. She's trying to get to her water because she still has the will to live. Just like when I get out her FOOD, which I'm preparing right now, I'm just waiting for carrots to soften is what I'm doing. I have them boiling, and even though I cut them on the thinner side, I kind of chop them in the middle, um, and so they take a while to get soft like she needs them to be. And I know some people feed their dogs raw carrots. Bijou so far will not eat raw carrots. She has to have them boiled, and the recipe that I use for her calls for boiled carrots. And so, you know, which of course they're not boiling, they're simmering right now because I knew that I was going to be doing this. And so, but my point is, when it comes to Lindy, I know he's going to bond enough with Dee's family, and I know what kind of dog owner Dee is, and she very much loves animals, dogs, cats, I don't think she cares. I mean, like, I don't think she has a limit to the love in her heart for animals. We're very similar, except for I just have Bijou, and that's my unlimited amount of love that I'm going to give. Except for Dee has that, but it's just for all animals. She just really does love animals. When it comes to people, she's like me. We can take them or leave them. She loves her husband a lot. I know that, and he's fortunate that she has those feelings for him, but just when it comes to people, we're very similar in that way. And so, we're also very good friends, I think, for that reason. Because if you notice, whenever I mention one of my friends on my podcast, which is something I've noticed a lot too, and it hit me why it's that way. But almost every time I reference one of my friends, I'm like my best friend D, or my best friend Renee, or my best friend Chris Rubio, or my best friends who are my gay besties. I'm an ally to the community. But my best friends, my besties that are gay, Thomas and Derek, I refer to them as my best friends. And I think that's because once you get to a certain age, and believe me, I'm at that certain age, you do only have around the people that have stuck it out with you and the people that have shown themselves to actually be your friends when you really need friends. And so when I say that with everybody that tends to be my friend being my best friend, I feel like it's 100% true, and I wouldn't even order them in any particular way and be like, well, this is my best friend that's like best friend number one and best friend number two. I mean, like, all of my friends I've shared a lot of things with. I share different things with each one, but that's just because being friends like that, it's like we relate on different levels. Like, there are certain things I can talk to the gay besties about that are, and then when it comes to even my two gay besties, Thomas and Derek, like, me and Derek have this fun relationship that's like kind of like, we act very surfacey with each other, and we even sometimes call each other names and kind of play with each other that way. But it's all fun and good natured. It's not at all like causing bad self-esteem or like really being rude with each other. It's just silly, fun, catty, gay man stuff. And I'll do that with Thomas too, in a way. And then we're all on group chat together, and almost everything we do happens in the group chat. Every once in a while, there's something I have to say to Derek that doesn't concern Thomas. And the only time that we do that, it's not ever like we don't want the other one to know about it or whatever. It's usually something that doesn't concern the other one. Like, Derek was going to be at my show because he still lives in Phoenix and Thomas is in San Diego. So when me and Derek are communicating so that he can be in my show, except for he's an old woman, and technically he's quite a bit younger than I am, but I still call him an old woman because he ended up hitting me up later that night after he bought a ticket and everything and was like, hey girl, I'm nodding off. And I was just like, I didn't even return his message, and it wasn't because I cared. I just was busy getting ready to do my show. And also, that's such a Derek thing to do. Me and Thomas both call him Grammy D because he is the grandma of the bunch. He is the one that will be in bed early. He's the one that'll act like we're disturbing him at certain points or just won't answer his phone when we're trying to get a hold of him in the later hours. He is a respectable older woman is what Derek is. And so, but like not too long ago, it was the opposite situation because Thomas, we all were living in Arizona when we became friends. And Thomas was in Arizona because Thomas now lives in California. And so when Thomas was visiting, him and Derek had decided to go to lunch together. And they had asked me if I was going to be in town that weekend. It was one of the, 3-day weekends. I can't remember if it was like Memorial Day or Labor Day or something like that. But they had asked me if I was going to be there, and I said I wasn't. And then they ended up sending me a picture of them on the group where they were at lunch together. And I don't remember. I said something snarky, but I don't remember what it was. But all of the communication that they had to set that up, I wasn't included on. So, and to me, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, why do I need to know what time you guys are meeting where, and if somebody's stuck in some food court, which they went to a nicer restaurant. See, that's what I mean. I can't help but be catty with them because they're gay men. Or then my friend Renee, who Renee is like my catch-all friend, and we don't get to talk all the time. Like I said a while back, like I don't talk to anybody all the time, but Renee is one of the people that I talk to the most, and she is very much like, we talk about gossip, like celebrity gossip and things like that. We both have a love for Wendy Williams. She loves Wendy more than I do. But we have this relationship where we just talk about everything when we do talk. And so that's my relationship with Renee. But I don't feel like any one of them is more important than the other. I feel like they're all my best friends, and I do, even if I don't act like it, love all of them. And so, but with Dee, I really appreciate her for helping me out. And also, I don't feel bad about it just because I know that Lindy is going to be able to have a better life with them than I can give him, because I got offered a cat not too long ago, and I actually thought about taking it because a friend of mine is moving and taking her cat is not going to be an option. So, she offered me the cat, or said that I could possibly have the cat. And I thought about it. And I thought about it just for Lindy. I was like, yeah, if we had the cat and he's curious about the dog, because she said that he was curious about other animals and very nice with other animals, and he just wants to play with them. And I did think that that might be cute. But then I also was like, the last thing I need is another responsibility or another thing that I have to take care of when I'm already having my hands full right now with Bijou alone, plus Lindy. And then if I take on a cat, it just, it just wasn't going to be a smart move for me. And so it's just kind of like, all right, well, Lindy would have just been stuck with me and Bijou, which I've already said. I've even said on this episode, even when Bijou is at 100%, she doesn't want to hang out with him like that. She doesn't want to play with him like that. So he has no playmates. He's just stuck with that puppy energy and no place to release it. So, I very likely will not be trying to take him back after 6 to 9 months. And if things don't work out the way that I want them to with Bijou, which isn't something I'm even willing to seriously entertain, but if, God forbid, something like that were to happen, I would not just run over and get Lindy and be like, hey, thanks for taking care of my dog, but I'm going to take him back. I really feel like this is the way God intended it. And maybe I do believe too much in God and fate, but even when it came to the situation with Lindy jumping on Bijou, it's horrible. And I feel so bad about it. But I did handle it as well as I could possibly handle it. But at the same time, even though I feel really bad about it, I don't know what the lesson was there for me to learn, or maybe it just was an excuse to pass Lindy on to Dee. That even if I hadn't realized it in that moment, I was already knowing, to tell you the truth, that I just wasn't able to give him what he needs right now. Before all of this happened, it was easier. But then once this happened, before even like him jumping on her. Just what I was saying is before, when her legs started messing up, and then when it started getting worse, I already knew that this situation wasn't ideal for Lindy. And there was a part of me that would get frustrated because, like I said, he would just pee on the stuff that I needed the most. So, you stay on top of everything. And I'm not going to live in a dirty apartment. I've never, in my time having dogs, and by dogs, I mean whenever Bijou decides to take on a rescue or whatever she does. Technically, we've only had Jerry and we had Lindy. But whenever we've had another dog, I've never lived in the place where you could smell that dogs live there. Like, it doesn't smell like pee. It doesn't smell like dog. It just is a regular apartment. If anything, sometimes it smells like incense or whatever candle I decided to burn last. But I don't live in a place that smells like dogs, and I certainly don't live in a place that smells like piss. And so when Lindy would pee on something, say I had really been struggling, because some days I am trying to fit everything in as far as, recording videos, editing videos. Sometimes I do a video each night, and sometimes I'll just record it, and sometimes I'm just having to edit because some of these are 2-night edits. And so sometimes I'm just really struggling with time. Like, that's what my struggle is sometimes, where I'm just like, which, by the way, if anybody can or hasn't yet, which I know the fair amount of you haven't, join my memberships on YouTube. That would be very helpful to me. I'm going to see how quickly, excuse me, didn't mean to yawn on that. Sorry to be rude and classless, but I'm trying to see how quickly I can get to 1,000 paid subscribers on my YouTube. If you're not a YouTube person and you want to get on my Patreon, I can tell you that I'm going to be trying to figure out how to get 1,000 subscribers on that too, because I want 1,000 on each of them. And so either way, description box down below if you're interested. Please be interested. Maybe I'll even put it like right here. But I think it's this side. But no, I think it's that side. Well, we'll see what pops up when I do it. But anyway, yeah. So, I feel like maybe. So, yeah, that was my point. So, whenever that would happen, and especially it was stuff I needed, like with Bijou's thing that I used to hold her up, I needed that. Anytime I take her outside, I had to use that. So when that's what I'm dealing with, and then it's like I'm coming in and I'm tired and I just drop it by the door or, right here on the kitchen floor because I need to put Bijou in her bed, and it's maybe there for 5 minutes. And this is literally the way it would go down. And it's maybe there for 5 minutes, and then I come back and there's pee on it. And then not too long ago, I had just woken up, and I take them potty as soon as I wake up. They know how it works. And I had to go pee real quick before I took them down. And I was so tired that day. And all of a sudden, I look down, and I think that that's what Lindy was doing, because it happened so fast. Again, that boy is a ninja. But it was one of those situations where my eyes are still adjusting, literally, and I look over, and at first it looked like he was just sitting down, and then I was like, wait, is he peeing? And then he moves out of the way, and there is a puddle on the rug. And it's just like, Lindy, what are we doing? Why are you doing this to me? I'm already busy enough, and you see everything I'm doing, and I know that, like I said, they're dogs, so they don't really understand everything that I'm saying, but I know that they know tones. And so it's just like, why are you doing this to me? I'm already, because, I cook food for both of them, and I really was trying my best to be the best daddy I could be to Lindy as well. And in the end, it just wasn't going to be enough for him. And I really started to figure that out. And then, so once that situation happened, then I was just like, yeah, I just can't do it. Also, this is completely off topic, but somebody had mentioned, well, two people have hit me up recently, and it's been people that I don't know. They're just commenters on videos, and mentioned that, a few big comics have talked about me recently on their podcast, and they were wondering if I was going to say anything about that. And no, I don't even listen to anybody's podcast other than Tim Dillon, and that's 100% true. So I don't know what anybody's saying about me, and I don't care what anybody's saying about me. I live in my world. Like right now, I'm so busy with the stuff that I personally have to get done that I am not thinking about what anybody's saying about me. If anybody's free to say anything they want about me right now. I'm not saying that one day I won't hear something, me personally hear it and be like, "Oh yeah, let me address that." But as far as people trying to get my attention, which is what it is, because if you've noticed on my podcast, I haven't been talking about anybody. And I don't care if people are like, but a month ago or 2 months ago, you really had a lot to say. You're right. I did. And now I don't. So that's why I say people are welcome to talk about me, but I won't be giving a response because A, I don't know what they're saying, and B, I don't care. Or probably A, I don't care what they're saying, and B, I don't know. So unless you random person hitting me up in my comments mentions it, I don't know what it is. And I'm not going to go seek it out because I would never respond to anything because nobody said, oh, this is what they said. But it should tell you something about where I am, even though people will once in a while try to act like Thai Rivera is not that funny and nobody knows who he is. Okay, well then why are people still talking about me 2 months after they are barely even a memory for me? And one of the groups that they mentioned, I don't think I've ever publicly talked about them, nor do I have anything negative to say about them. So I don't know if that one was negative. They didn't say. I don't know if either of them were negative because nobody said what the details were. But my point is, I would never respond to anything that would basically be hearsay. If somebody were like, hey, so-and-so said this about you, tone matters, inflection matters. There's also times that people think that people are talking about me in a negative way. And then I will, because this has happened before, and then I will listen into what people are saying, and I'm like, oh no, that's true, and it's allowable, and it's even kind of flattering, Like sometimes people will mention things about me, and they'll say like, that I do not care and I will burn a bridge or things like that. And sometimes people will be like, they were talking about you. They were saying that you'll burn bridges, and I'm like, yeah, I called one of my podcast titles, one of the episodes was literally Burning Bridges. I think what it was called. Burning Bridges with Thai Rivera or something like that was what it was called. So you think I'm going to get offended? You think I'm one of those people that I'll literally say, I knew a person like that. One time there was this comedian that her entire act is about being fat. And I'm not joking even a little bit or exaggerating. Her act is really, honey, I'm a big girl. And, she always goes for the low hanging fruit of I'm fat. Everything's I'm fat. And so one time she got in this in an argument with this other comedian that she had technically antagonized, and I didn't realize she was antagonizing. This person is evil. I'm not going to mention her name right now. I've mentioned her on other episodes, but I'm not going to do it right now because who cares? The name doesn't matter. It's about the lesson, like I say in a lot of cases. But yeah, so one time she got in this argument with this other comedian, and I didn't even realize, because this is how evil she is. I'm not even joking. Anybody that knows this person personally, who is her public persona is very jolly and fun, and people think she's this sweet woman. but really she is an evil, evil person. And so one time there was this comedian that no longer does comedy anymore, and I won't mention her name, but because you wouldn't know it anyway. Not being catty, that's just the for reals of it. But so the other comic, not the one that's still doing it, had confided to the evil one that, because they were friends, or she thought they were friends, that she was really struggling with alcoholism. And so, where it looked like she was just being an irresponsible drinker, she really had a problem with addiction and was trying to get it under control on her way to starting AA, because she knew that that's what was going to be necessary. So it wasn't just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to stop drinking. She knew that she was going to need 12 steps and a program, which if anybody out there is 12 steps and a program, I definitely do respect you for recognizing that you have a problem and getting it under control, doing something about it, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. Because if you know anything about alcoholism, it really will affect everybody around that person sometimes, including work friends or just co-workers in general. You don't even have to be friends, family, lovers, significant others, however you want to put that, polyamorous partners. Non-binary friends of the community. I don't know, there's so much out there, but all of that stuff, it really will affect it. And so she had told her that she was struggling like that. So there was a time that I was asked by the evil one. This was before I knew she was evil. I thought she was a nice person like everybody else. And so she was like, hey, Ty, would you mind going and grabbing me a pen? And then, or no, she was like, would you mind going and grabbing me a Sharpie? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I really didn't care, because I'm that kind of person when you're on the road with me, or I'm on the road with you, or we're doing a show together. And this wasn't on the road, but it was an actual show that we were doing. And this person was headlining that particular show, if I remember correctly. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go grab a Sharpie. And so she was like, I would ask so-and-so, and so-and-so is the one that's struggling with the alcoholism, but I didn't know that either. She was drinking a beer at that moment, though. And so this friend was like, or this person was like, I would ask so-and-so, but she's an alcoholic. And so I wonder, because, all of a sudden I saw the other one, the alcoholic, turn. Like, I saw her face just get like, what did you just say? It was like really just a crazy, crazy moment, especially if you didn't know the context that she had actually shared with the other, that she was really going through or dealing with alcoholism. And so the evil one had said that, though, to trigger her, because even though this person no longer does stand up, they were funny, and they were also not in the same vein in the way that they were, because the other one wasn't at all fat, but it was competition for her. I think she saw her just being female and a couple other traits she had as possibly being a threat to what she was doing, which I never feel that way. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're brown. I don't care if you're gay and brown. I don't care if you're gay and brown with a lot of tattoos. I don't care if you're gay, brown, tattoos, and piercings. I do not care. I don't feel threatened by anybody. That's not my thing. So unrelatable on that level. But so then the alcoholic got mad at her, and they were arguing back and forth. So then the alcoholic looks at the evil one, and she says, I don't care about you anyway. You're just a fat pig and you eat everything. And then she did the motion and went, nyang, nyang, nyang. I'll never forget it, because it's one of the funniest things that I've seen. Still in my life to this day, just because she really acted it out, She's like, you're a fat pig, and you eat everything. And so all of a sudden the fat one was like, that's it, bitch, and grabbed her by the arm, and they started fighting. Like, she literally attacked her at that point. And in my head, I was like, Her whole act is about being fat. How did she get offended about somebody calling her fat? I don't even understand how that's a thing. And so, you would not catch me getting mad about anything that I've said myself on this podcast. I just don't care. I really have to say that the only thing that ever makes me mad is when people lie about me. But even that doesn't really make me mad because most of the lies that people tell about me are so far-fetched that it's like anybody with any sense wouldn't believe them anyway. Like, there was a guy that was on Instagram when I was making the videos about Mothership, and he said, I once saw you at Mothership and you bombed. It was so terrible. And I was like, well, then why are you following me on Instagram? And he was like, because that was my first time going to Mothership and I was so excited about going to the club for the first time in my life. I've been a fan of Joe Rogan's podcast forever, and I decided to find out the names of every comedian on the lineup that I had gone to that night and follow all of you guys. And that's the only reason I'm following you. But you were terrible. You bombed. And it was like, I bombed at the Mothership. Okay. And so, since he was Mr. I remember all these things, this was one of the best days of my life, or the most notable days of my life. I was like, okay, well, tell me what date you were at the club, because I wasn't known for bombing at the Mothership. That's something nobody's claimed. And I'm sure that somewhere they have videotapes of everything I've done there, because they tape everything at Mothership. You know, they always have their cameras running. That's just a standard thing. And so, you know, I was like, yeah, just tell me the date and then I can pull it up, because I have voice memo of almost every performance. There's maybe one or two, three at the most, that I didn't actually record. And it was just one of those things where I hadn't, because, you know, sometimes I'd be talking to other comedians or whatever before I'd go on, and I hadn't put my phone in airplane mode and turned on the voice memo. But like most of them, seriously, 98% of me performing there, I would say I have on voice memo, even to this day, you know, because I just don't erase the performances in a lot of cases. And so I asked him, just tell me what date it was and I'll pull it up, and then I'll probably end up posting the full audio on my Instagram reels, just so everybody can hear what me bombing sounds like according to you. And suddenly he was like, I don't remember the date. Okay, so you tracked down, this was such a big moment in your life, and you tracked down every single person on the show because it was such a big moment for you, and you don't live in Austin. Because if you lived in Austin, maybe I could kind of understand. But you don't live in Austin, but you don't remember the dates that you came out here. You don't remember on such a momentous occasion. You don't remember even when your flight was. Because if you can give me a range, I can tell you which shows I did at Mothership that weekend or during those days. So you can't tell me that. Okay, liar. Keep telling people that you saw me bomb, but not being able to produce an actual date so I can prove you right or prove you wrong. And whether it would be a prove you right or prove you wrong, I would prove you. I would post what I had. So, you know, that's why I say the lies that people try to tell about me are even too ridiculous for me to address or really get mad about, because it's just like, okay, well, you know, the saying goes, truth hurts for a reason. And so there's a reason that people are still talking about me, and that's because everything that I've said about everybody on my podcast has been true. And for as much as people would try to make it seem like I sold out people, nothing I said was a secret. If I said anybody wasn't a particularly good comic, that is verifiable by anybody that's ever seen those people perform. It's not like I live in my own world when it comes to that. I very much live in the real world when it comes to stand up comedy. That's the one place I can say that I really do have my feet the most planted in reality is in the world of stand up, because I feel like my word is actually worth something in stand up. And not only do I feel that way, I know that because there's people that don't even technically like me that will ask or use like the fact that I think they're funny or I will verify they're funny as a recommendation to people that either book or might have some kind of clout in stand up. So I'll end up hearing like, I heard so and so used to work with you, or I heard so and so you used to be friends with so and so, and it's like, yeah, and then they're like, oh, I was just wondering if you think he'd be funny out here, or if you think, he's one of the people that I should book, and I'll just tell them honestly whether or not I think that person's funny, and whether I like you or not. If I think you're funny, I think you're funny, and if I don't think you're funny, but I notice audiences do, I won't lie to that person and say, yeah, I think they're funny, but I will very honestly and matter of factly, without even passive aggressively including my own personal feelings about that person's stand up, I just say, yeah, they're funny. Audiences love them. They're very funny, because that's something I don't get mad at either, is when people will talk about my stand up. And it's not like I've heard a lot of people doing this, but there are people that have done it before when they say that they personally don't like my stand up. I get that because like I've been very open about the fact that Jerry Seinfeld is a huge, huge comedian that I personally have never liked his stand up. And I know some of you really do. And I'm not trying to argue that out of you. I'm not saying that Jerry Seinfeld is not funny. I'm just saying that for what tickles my funny bone, Jerry Seinfeld doesn't hit it. Jerry Seinfeld is not there for me personally. So if somebody says the same about me, I'm not going to be like, you're such a liar. You think I'm funny. It's like, no, maybe I don't. Maybe I really just don't think you're funny. But, when I say that people are mid or people are just whatever when it comes to stand up, that's also true. Because, so if I said that about anybody, when their special comes out on Netflix, you'll see that they're just okay. Like I said, they were. If you watched their first special, which I know I've called out somebody's first special before, that was horrible, just like I said it was. So people can feel free to talk about me. I've given them reason to be in their feelings over things I've said before, and I will not deny that. I won't be like, what are they mad about? No, that's kind of why I did it, was because I knew it would hit them in the place that would hurt the most, because you can't buy what natural talent is. You can keep trying to buy it because you have other things that are successful and you have the money to try to buy it. But at the end of the day, you will never buy greatness in stand-up. It either will develop or it won't develop. And greatness has not developed so far. And that's why you still talk about me. Because in that way, when it comes to stand-up, greatness has developed. And I have to prove that every weekend that I'm ever out, which again, I'm not going to be on the road for quite a while. I'm going to have to cancel the Portugal thing because I was supposed to be performing in Portugal in September. But like I've already said, I'm dedicated to my baby. We got to get this figured out. And especially since that thing happened with Lindy, I really do feel like that's something that I have to make up to her just in time, effort, patience, and attention. That is the only way that I'm going to be able to do that, is just to give it an honest shot with her. And also, I'll be honest with you guys, when she, like I said, when she tells me that she's done and she's ready to tap out, she's been good enough to me that I'm just going to have to respect that, and I'm going to have to do what she wants. But she ain't said it so far. So this is just the struggle we're in right now, and the struggle is a lot more work for her than it is for me, even though there are certain ways that you could maybe say that I'm inconvenienced. But at the same time, I think for the rest of my life, even if she lives to be 100 years old, I think I'll always cherish the time that we're having right now, because there's just something so special about really proving your love to something. Like, just right now when I had to help her get water, or when, I'm like, because I do both. I try to help her just get water because I feel like then she can get as much as she wants to. But if she's just laying down and I can tell she's comfy, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? My baby needs to stay hydrated, because that's one of the things when they're not very mobile at the moment, you really have to help them stay hydrated. And so when there's moments and I'm like, my baby needs to be hydrated right now, I'll ask her if she wants water, and then I'll get the syringe. The syringe that has no needle in it, obviously. It's just a syringe for water. And I'll fill that up and I'll just put it in her little mouth, and she'll start licking the water, and I'll just slowly give her water. And right now with the food situation, because the way the bowl is shaped, she still has plenty of appetite, but she's losing weight still too. And that's another thing that I kind of am proud of myself about. Well, not kind of, I am very proud of myself that she's continuing to lose weight in a healthy way, and I'm being disciplined about that. And she's used to eating this way now, and so we're all the way around on a good track. When she goes potty, because she can't move her legs out of the way, or one of her legs out of the way when she goes potty, I have to wipe her legs down with baby wipes, because you don't want to get what they call, I believe it's urine scald is what it's called. And that's when obviously they have pee on their legs or their feet or places that pee isn't supposed to be. And it will start to break down the skin, because the urine is caustic, for lack of a better term, or acidic. I'm not sure what it is, but it's an actual thing. If you look it up, it's called urine rot. And so I've got to wipe her legs down each time we come back. Well, I use baby wipes to wipe her legs down. Clearly, I have a good hold on those. Used to be a football player. But, yeah, so I've got to wipe her little legs down. Well, obviously, when I'm done wiping her little legs down, they're moist, and you don't want her to just sit there with moist legs, because I'm sure that that's not good. I'm sure that could cause some sort of bacteria or mold or something that wouldn't be the most pleasant. And so then I have to take the blow dryer. I keep the blow dryer plugged in right there next to her little enclosed area, and then I have to, on like low setting, dry her little legs. And so earlier today she made me cry tears of laughter, of joy, which is kind of gay to admit. And all the crying that I've done lately has been more crying than I've probably done in my entire adult life, and it's not an exaggeration. But even that I kind of see as a blessing, because sometimes there's a part of me that feels like I don't have those emotions, because like I said, I don't really feel that for people. And so, even when some of my romantic relationships have broken up, or pretty much all of my romantic relationships, except for maybe the first guy I dated or something like that. And I really have been in love with those guys. I'm not downplaying my feelings for those guys, but I didn't cry at the end of those relationships. But with this little animal right here, I cry sometimes daily. Which I laugh about, because I'm not usually that soft, but it's the emotion she brings out of me. And then today she really made me laugh, because she'd gone potty earlier. We went to the vet today, and she wasn't happy with me about that. That's part of why she wasn't kissing me earlier. I'm getting ready to wrap this up, but I feel like these last parts are kind of necessary. But she wasn't happy with me for our trip to the vet today. And for me taking her to the vet, and the vet really had to examine her, and he was not happy about me telling him about the Lindy situation. But I have to tell him everything so we can know what the course of action is and what it is I'm supposed to do. He said it's not good, and I basically told him, don't bum me out. Look, I know you're going to try to give me some pessimistic type of thing, and the truth is I don't need that right now. I need positivity, and I need to be told what I need to do in best case scenario, or if I'm expecting best case scenario to come out. This is the place that I will be delusional. This is the place that I will run 100% on faith, is when it comes to this. So with everything else, while I may be very much grounded in reality, with all the other stuff that I have to do and where I am in life and what's going on around me in life, when it comes to this little person right here, I need you to only give me positivity, because that's what we're both going to run off right now. But she had, because, I asked him how to help her express her bladder if that becomes an issue, which it hasn't been. I also asked him how to express the other part, number 2, which that hasn't been a problem either. But sometimes I wonder, or I worry, or sometimes I don't feel like she's going enough for me, which I know I shouldn't feel that way. So I asked him how to do that. And so he showed me both. And then, so, of course, to show me, he made sure, but she had gone potty earlier today. So I was like, she probably isn't going to have any potty. And he was like, I can still show you how to express the bladder, just nothing will come out. And so I was like, okay. And so he showed me how to do it, and hopefully I got it, but who knows? So tonight, I take her outside to go potty. I ask her if she has to go potty. She gives me the signal that she does. So I take her outside to go potty, and I put her towel, around her waist, and she started booking it just with her little front legs. Just with her little front legs, just taking off, really, really, running. And I was keeping up with her, obviously, with the towel, because I got to keep the back part of her body up. But even that, she was giving as much of a push with her back legs as she could possibly give. But so she did it, and then since she has to go potty, her little body dangles, the back half of her body, she's got it so she can go potty. And so when she does her spin, because how they spin usually with their legs to go potty, when she does her spin, she's on the towel, and she just twists her little body on the towel and uses the force of the towel, and it's peeing while she's going in a circle and keeping her leg out of the way. Just the way that she ran, and the way that she did it, and the fact that she did it so fast, where I was just sort of all right, you do your part, I'll do mine. So as soon as I lifted her little back legs, she engaged her little front legs and just takes off running. And it was just the cutest thing in the world to me. And also, like I said, because I want her to be comfortable, I was so happy that she went pee so fast, and that she got it down. And so I was I picked her up as soon as she was done, and I was just you're such a good baby. I love you so much, and you make me so happy. And I just, I started laugh crying at the same time. But it was not at all sad. It wasn't at all even right now that it's coming back to me, it's just such a happy, I love the amount of life she has in her, And so that's why I say, I'm just going to let her tell me when she wants something different, but I promise I won't cry on the next episode. But yeah, she just, I promised her from here on out, I won't make any other mistakes. And that's pretty much all I can do. So, this wasn't the way I planned to end, but stay unbothered.